You know what makes every outfit look better? The right bra from Third Love. Their bras make it easy to ultimate cleavage, a smooth look, or even stop your shirt buttons from pulling. They make over 60 sizes, including half cups you won't find anywhere else, so you'll find your perfect fit. Third Love solves bra problems, or what they call broblems. Real women test every style they make. Comfort and support are guaranteed. So stop settling for bad bras. You deserve better. Get your problem solved today. Save $15 on your first order with code podcast15 at thirdlove.com.
Without the fans, there is none of this.
Wednesday, August 9th.
I'm so honored to be here.
Baby, you're a rock star. America's biggest super fans meet their superstar idols.
Yeah!
And compete for a once-in-a-lifetime prize.
That is correct! I'm going to take them through my new record, song by song.
You can pick a song, and we can sing it together on stage.
And the title of Ultimate Superfan.
It is up to you, America.
Superfan. Superfan premieres Wednesday, August 9th on CBS and streaming on Paramount+. Superfan.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 325 of the True Crime All the Time Unsolved podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing very well. You and I just finished up recording part 2 of the Dennis Nilsen episodes for TCAT. Man, that guy, he was something else.
He was an animal.
He was a very, very bad dude, but that's out now. Let's go ahead and give our Patreon shout outs. We had Lawson and T.
Well, thank you, Auntie.
MR13.
What's up, MR?
Anise de Villiers.
Delivers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Andrew Wilder.
Hey, Weiler.
Melissa Rogers jumped out at her highest level.
Roger's coming through.
Cass.
Good old Cass.
Jennifer Wolf.
Hey, Wolf.
Angie Pennington jumped out at her highest level.
What's going on, Pennington?
Allison Barone.
Hey, thank you, Barone.
And Elisa Johns jumped out at her highest level.
Oh, look at the Johns.
And last but not least, Ryan Smith.
Hey, thank you, Smith.
Yeah, we appreciate the new Patreon support. And then if we go back into the vault, this week we selected Renee Kale.
Hey, appreciate that, Renee.
Yeah, we appreciate the long-term Patreon support. A couple of great donations on PayPal from Sarah Bostwick.
Thank you, Bostwick.
And Daniel Watt.
What's coming through?
So thank you to everyone who, makes that decision to try to help out the show. It is very much appreciated.
Yeah, we couldn't do it without them.
No, absolutely not. All right, buddy, are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved?
I am ready.
We are talking about the Pimlico Poisoning. 40-year-old Thomas Edwin Bartlett died on January 1st, 1886. He'd been sick for about a month before he died, but he was expected to recover. A postmortem exam found a deadly amount of chloroform in Edwin's stomach. His wife, Adelaide, was suspected of poisoning him with the help of a minister named George Dyson. So we're in for a lot here. Now, this is an old case. It goes back to the 1800s, but it has all the trappings and the facets of a case that, could be ripped out of today's headline.
It could. And I'm actually surprised you didn't say we're going back to the time when I was just a wee lad.
No, I don't. You're not that old. But, love triangles and one spouse poisoning another, that's happening
today. Yeah.
And, we are headed to England. So actually both of our episodes this week take place across the pond.
We're very British.
Sure.
Yeah.
UK. Adelaide Bartlett was born in 1855 in Orleans, a city in north central France. Her birth name was Adelaide Blanche de la Trémollet. I'm not good at French. I'm doing my best here.
I was very impressed with that.
According to the British Medical Journal, she was an illegitimate child. Her father was likely Adolphe Collot de la Tremouille, Comte de Thors de Escurzi. Say that 5 times fast. I couldn't even say it once.
I would be able to get halfway through it.
And I know it wasn't correct. Her mother may have been an English woman named Clara Chamberlain. And we like to give background on different people. Does it make all that much difference what her father's exact name was? No, not exactly. Adelaide grew up in France, but was sent to England to live with her aunt and uncle in Kingston upon Thames, a town in the royal borough of Kingston upon Thames, located in southwest London. Now, I'm pretty sure I'm getting the Thames right, because every time they talk about the river, I want to say Thames.
But you can't.
But you can't.
It's the River Thames.
It's the River Thames. In 1875, she met Thomas Edwin Bartlett, who was infatuated by her beauty and wanted to marry her, per the British Medical Journal. The British Medical Journal published an article about the case in 1994, which we'll reference a lot throughout the episode. When you have a case from the 1800s, it can sometimes, better to say a lot of times, be quite hard to find a lot of sources.
So limited sources.
Limited sources. Edwin was 30 years old. At that time, he was 11 years older than Adelaide. He was fairly wealthy because he owned some grocery stores. Adelaide's guardians approved of the marriage and provided a modest dowry. I wonder why we don't do dowries anymore.
We really should do some dowries again. Wait, who gives the dowry? The father of the bride or the parents of the groom?
The bride's family, right?
Oh, well, let's not do dowries till after my daughter gets married.
Yeah, I have 2 daughters.
Yeah, we don't want dowries.
I just posed the question. I wasn't trying to, come up with a petition for people to sign to start doing that, but
I don't want to have to bring my wallet out if I don't have to.
We know that. I just always kind of wondered where it started and when it went away. After the wedding, Edwin sent Adelaide to a boarding school in Stoke Newington, inner London, to, quote, rectify gaps in her formal education, according to the British Medical Journal.
Well, I could have used something like that.
You could use something like that right now. I don't know why you made it past tense.
That's true.
There are some gaps that could be rectified.
Oh, big time.
Actually, for both of us, if we're being honest. But, I kind of want to go back for a minute. She's 19 years old. This guy, he's got some money. He's infatuated by her beauty, wants to marry her. The family agrees to it. But then right away after the marriage, it's almost as if he's not happy with her exactly.
Maybe he just can't have the type of conversation he would expect to have with somebody at his educational level.
You mean because he's 30 and she's 19?
Partially.
And he's more educated? Maybe. I don't know. I just thought it was strange. So did he marry her just because she was beautiful and he was going to change her by sending her to this boarding school? It's kind of the way it made it sound.
Sure. Yeah.
Or the way it came off to me. So she attended school for 2 years and only saw her husband on school holidays. And I thought that was very strange too.
So that's a rough go.
You just got married.
Yeah.
So either he was thinking very long term, no short term whatsoever, because there are only so many school holidays.
Very limited.
Edwin then sent Adelaide to a finishing school in Belgium. So she finished school in 1878. So this was 3 years that she attended school.
Yeah, but now she's going to be the proper housewife that he must have thought he needed.
She moved in with Edwin. They lived in a home above one of his shops in Herne Hill, South London. They lived there for around 5 years. And to go back to what you said, Gibbs, I think you're right. I'm really getting this vibe that, and maybe she wanted to do it too. I don't know, but I'm getting more of a vibe of, hey, you're beautiful, but I need you to be intelligent or at a certain intelligence level. So I'm going to send you here and here. And maybe that was not that out of the ordinary, but obviously it's not, hey, I love you for who you are type of deal.
Right. I don't care what fork you eat with, If that was the case, I need to go to finishing school.
You could use that too. You eat at my house every week. I've never even seen you eat a fork.
Sometimes you just don't need it.
No, sometimes you order Mexican. There's rice, there's beans. I look over, you're just scooping it up with your hand.
My hands are clean.
It's unsettling. The New York Times wrote about Edwin in an 1886 article saying he was generous, kind, almost submissive to his wife. Okay. So maybe I got the wrong vibe. Maybe it was the other way around.
You know, there's some guys that like that, being submissive to their wives.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Especially men in power.
They want to transfer the power because they have the power all the time.
Yeah. They don't want to have to be the person making the decision all the time. They want somebody else to do it for them.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not familiar with those people.
Yeah.
That doesn't ring a bell with me. But, you know, when it says that he was submissive to her, does it kind of change my theory on, you know, what he was making her do this, and this? Maybe now I'm leaning towards she wanted to do that. She wanted to go here and, you know, it said he sent her, but it could have just been that he paid for it.
Or he got her where he thought she needed to be and then allowed her to be in control.
No, that could be as well. Edwin's father felt like Adelaide was coming between him and Edwin once she moved in. His own wife had passed away, so it's possible he was feeling lonely if Edwin was spending more time with Adelaide. Now, that seems strange to me as well. Father saying that his son's wife is coming between them.
And normally it's the mother-in-law that would have an issue like that.
Yeah.
Not a father-in-law.
When you get married, kind of by default, you are going to spend more time with your spouse than anybody else. So some of the time that you would have spent with other family members, you know, it gets taken from.
It would only make logical sense.
He accused Adelaide of having an affair with Edwin's brother, Frederick. Edwin sided with his wife and forced his father to retract his allegations in front of a solicitor. So this was like kind of a big deal.
Yeah, it was.
They're in court.
Yeah, you can't be saying that about my wife.
You take that back or I'll take off my white gloves and smack you in the face.
Exactly.
Like they did in the old days. Sources tend to agree that Edwin and Adelaide cared for each other, but they didn't have what was called a traditional marriage. Adelaide would later say that she and Edwin only had sex once during their entire marriage so that she could get pregnant. And she did become pregnant. So
because he was really good at that one time.
For her batting average, that's really good. You're batting 1,000. They had a midwife named Annie Walker move in a month before Adelaide was supposed to have the baby. Walker would give a different account of the marriage. She said that Edwin and Adelaide always slept in the same bed, and that, as quoted by the British Medical Journal, the one act of intercourse which made Adelaide pregnant was their one act of unprotected intercourse.
Okay, so sounds like there was a lot more.
Hanky-panky?
Yeah.
Well, according to her, there was. They just were trying to get pregnant, and it worked the first time, I guess. I don't know. You know, everybody's got their own account. Who do you believe? Annie Walker thought Adelaide would have a difficult delivery, so she recommended bringing in a doctor. Edwin objected to this because at this time in history, almost all doctors were men. He only allowed a doctor at the last minute. Tragically, it was too late, and the baby was not born alive.
I think that happened a lot back then.
Well, I think a lot of things medically that were tragic happened more often because, you know, medicine was not as advanced. But I really want to kind of talk about why, you know, Edwin would not have wanted this doctor at first. And it really kind of seemed like from some of the research that he objected to a man, I guess, seeing his wife in that way. I don't know how else to say it, but then kind of consented at the last minute, and it was too late by that point.
Some weird form of jealousy, you know, but it's a professional. I mean, yeah, is he going to see everything of your wife's? Yes, but that's his job. he's not looking at your wife in a sexual type of way.
Well, you hope not.
Well, yeah.
You know, I don't know. It's the 1800s. I don't know exactly what it took to be a doctor in the 1800s.
I'm open
You
something.
you said, hey, I'm a doctor.
Yeah. I'm also the local butcher and the shoesmith.
But it's sad, right? So the baby didn't survive. Adelaide decided she would not have another child. But it was said that this didn't seem to negatively affect the marriage. According to the New York Times, Edwin had built up for himself a theory that a man ought to have two wives, one to be the mother of his children, the other to be a strictly intellectual companion. After the death of their child, the Bartletts agreed to occupy this wholly platonic relation towards each other.
Okay.
Two wives.
Two wives. One that's, nice to look at, have some fun.
I didn't get that at all. It just said to be the mother of the children.
And to be the mother of my child.
I didn't get the have fun. Nice. I didn't get any of that. No. And then one just to talk to.
I just need somebody that understands me.
And on an intellectual level.
That higher level.
I don't know. This is weird kind of thinking to me, to be honest with you.
It is. I mean,
because you can find one person to
encompass everything.
Yeah. To satisfy all of that.
But a different time, right?
Oh, yeah. Much different time. People had, different ways of thinking. And I think the biggest thing is that they agreed on it. So he might have come up with the idea, but she was okay with it, apparently.
Well, maybe she was bored with his conversation style.
No, but she's got to be the intellectual one because she's not going to have another child. So,
oh yeah. Maybe she just didn't want to go through those efforts again to make a baby.
Yeah, maybe not. We don't know what was behind it. Annie Walker maintained her friendship with the Bartletts. She would later testify that Adelaide once complained that Edwin's will stipulated that she should not remarry. That's kind of rough.
It is.
What if he died early? She's just supposed to live the rest of her life alone?
So in that type of will, she receives the benefits.
Are they going to take it back from her?
Like, hey, we found out you got remarried. We're going to take it back now.
Or maybe it doled out money
most likely
periodically.
Right. As long as she stayed unmarried.
As long as she stayed unmarried. Still, I think it's a kind of a nasty thing to do.
I think you would want or encourage your surviving spouse to move on.
Oh, be happy?
Be happy.
Yeah, if you loved her.
Yeah.
If you loved him or her. In 1883, the Bartletts moved to East Dulwich, southeast London, and lived above another one of Edwin's grocery stores. In 1885, they moved to Merton Abbey, southwest London. They met George Dyson, a 27-year-old minister. George Dyson was a minister at the local Wesleyan chapel. He met the Bartletts in January. He talked to them and made a pastoral call, according to the New York Times. In June 1885, he called on the Bartletts again. And after that, the acquaintance ripened swiftly to intimacy.
Ooh, you like those phrases.
It's a good turn of phrase. Now, This is the New York Times writing this.
So it went from a simple, I'm your pastor, I'm here just to...
Did you just say pasture?
Pastor.
Oh, okay.
Did I say pasture?
It sounded like it. I could be wrong.
It's that Ohio Southern accent of mine.
Southern Ohio.
Yeah. But, you go from just having, the pastor come out and visit with you to now he's coming out for other reasons.
Ripened swiftly to intimacy. The Bartletts, specifically Adelaide, had a unique relationship with George Dyson. According to the British Medical Journal, Edwin encouraged an affectionate relationship between the clergyman and his wife and was happy to see them kiss in his presence. Although it's doubtful if the relationship between the Reverend Dyson and Adelaide ever passed beyond the bounds of mutual platonic affection.
I don't know. Could you ever be comfortable with somebody kissing your wife in front of you?
No. What type of question is that? I mean, now, there are men that actually enjoy seeing their wives with other men.
Yeah.
right? There's a term for it. They're called cuckolds.
I did not know that. Okay. Well, I mean, yeah, I can see some people being okay with it. Some people definitely not okay with it.
I think most people definitely not okay with it. But according to this, right, they're kissing in front of the husband. But that's it. It didn't move beyond that. And apparently he enjoyed that or something. I don't know. Edwin created a new will, leaving his estate to Adelaide without the stipulation that she could not remarry. He expressed his wish that he wanted Adelaide and George to marry each other after he died. So he's done a complete 180.
He has.
And I think it really tells you what he thought of George. He liked him.
He sure did. And he sounded like he thought he was a good partner for her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please kiss my wife while I sit here on the chair. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Listen, we all have times in our lives where we're not sure which path to take, whether it's around career change or with relationships. Do we move forward? Do we stay where we're at? And what are the ramifications of the different decisions we could make? Whether you're dealing with decisions around career, relationships, or anything else, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while you navigate life, so you can move forward with confidence and excitement. And I love BetterHelp. I've been using the service for a few years now. I love the fact that I can talk to a licensed therapist from the comfort of my own home. I don't have to get in my truck. I don't have to sit in a waiting room. I just fire up my computer, my laptop. So if you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist. And you can change therapists anytime for no additional charge. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/allthetime today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/allthetime. Angie's List is now Angie, the home to skilled neighborhood professionals. Angie is your home for everything home, and they've made it easier than ever to connect with skilled professionals to get all your home projects done well. If you own a home, you know how much work it can take, whether it's everyday maintenance and repairs or making dream projects a reality. It can be hard just to know where to start, but now all you need to do is Angie that and find a skilled local pro who will deliver the quality and expertise you need. Angie has over 20 years of home service experience, and they've combined it with new tools to simplify the whole process. Bring them your project online or with the Angie app. Answer a few questions, and Angie can handle the rest from start to finish, or help you compare quotes from multiple pros and connect instantly. And all of that means you can take care of just about any home project in just a few taps, because when it comes to getting the most out of your home, you can do this when you Angie that. Download the free Angie mobile app today or visit Angie.com. That's ANGI.com.
These days, work is in trouble. We've outsourced most of our manufacturing to other countries, and with that, we sent away good jobs and our capability to make things. American Giant is a clothing company that's pushing back against this tide. They make all kinds of high-quality clothing and activewear, like sweatshirts, jeans, dresses, jackets, and so much more, right here in the USA. So when you buy American Giant, you create jobs in towns and cities across the country. And jobs bring pride, purpose. They stitch people together. If all that sounds good to you, visit American-Giant.com and get 20% off your first order when you use code STAPLE20 at checkout. That's 20% off your first order at American-Giant.com with promo code STAPLE20.
Are you looking for a new job or want a career change? Look no further than Monster.com. Need a little help standing out? Our expert resume writing services will make sure you shine. Want to brush up on your interview skills? Engage with our AI interview prep tool. Want some advice on negotiating your new salary? Visit our salary tools and extensive library of career advice articles, and you'll have all the tips and tricks you'll need to succeed. Visit Monster.com today and take the first step towards your career. Monster.com. Find your right job fit.
In August 1885, the Bartletts moved into a set of rooms on the first floor of a house in Pimlico, central London. The house was owned by Frederick Doggett, a registrar of births and deaths. Edwin continued encouraging George Dyson to see Adelaide so he could tutor her. He even bought Dyson a season ticket to make it easier for him to travel and teach Adelaide Latin, math, history, and geography. According to the British Medical Journal, a maid once found George and Adelaide on the floor. Okay.
Oh.
There's not a lot of specifics, but
maybe a little bit different type of tutoring.
Yes.
Maybe they're doing the learnings of the anatomy.
Well, I want to go back to this guy who's a pastor, but apparently is some kind of expert in Latin, math, history, and geography.
Well, the Latin I can understand. A lot of
that makes sense, yeah.
Ministers kind of had that Latin background.
Apparently he was a pretty smart guy, I guess. Edwin and George were also good friends, as evidenced by a letter he wrote to George in September 1885. The New York Times published this letter, part of which reads, "Dear George, permit me to say that I feel great pleasure in thus addressing you for the first time. To me, it is a privilege to think that I am allowed to feel towards you as a brother, and hope our friendship may ripen as time goes on without anything arising to mar its future brightness." Number one, it always cracks me up how people used to write. And why was the word ripen or ripened used so much back then, at least by these people?
Well, he's definitely into having his relationships ripen.
And it was around this time that Adelaide stopped sharing a bed with Edwin. They both slept in their drawing room, but he slept on a folding bed and she slept on the couch. And it was said that one reason they stopped sleeping together was because Edwin had bad breath. I just assumed most people had bad breath in the 1800s. Maybe I'm wrong.
Thinking that dentistry was not the top of their game at that moment?
No, it was trying not to be killed.
Yeah.
I guess I'm thinking like the Wild Wild West or, whatever. But
bad breath at nighttime when you're that close to somebody, it'd make it difficult to sleep, I think, as they snore that foul odor onto you.
Yeah, it seems like you're really speaking from experience there.
I'm just saying it could be rough if somebody...
It would be today, too. I think that would translate today. So it was said that Edwin had struggled with severe dental problems for years, but instead of extracting his teeth, a dentist sawed the teeth down to the gum in order to install dentures. But his teeth and gums became infected, and he suffered extreme pain for the rest of his life. So
I can't imagine having that type of procedure done back then. I think it'd be tough to have it today, but back then.
Well, I don't think today they just saw your teeth down to the nubs.
No, I don't think so either.
They could have pulled them out. I don't understand why this dentist thought it was better to saw the teeth down to the gums. But that's what happened. Now, it was also written that Edwin thought he had syphilis and took mercury to treat it. Some 19th century sources describe him as having hypochondria.
Hearing that today, it sounds strange that they used to take mercury, but it's what they used to cure certain things. Wasn't good for them.
Well, they also used to put leeches on people. We don't do that anymore either. So
I still do that.
Oh, do you?
I got one on me right now.
In late autumn, Edwin's dental problems worsened. He suffered tooth decay and possibly even necrosis. He became depressed, had difficulty sleeping because of his pain, and talked about dying. This dentist really jacked him up. I mean, he already had bad teeth, but...
Yeah, but I've had like a bad tooth before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking just one bad tooth, it can really make you uncomfortable if you don't have pain medicine to take with it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking if all your teeth hurt like that, it'd be tough to
get through the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I get it. On December 10th, 1885, Edwin saw Dr. Alfred Leach, who diagnosed him with diarrhea and gastritis. Okay, I don't know who needs anyone to diagnose them with diarrhea.
I'm not sure, Doc, what this runny stuff coming out of my ass is.
I think everybody knows when they have that. Edwin's lower gums were also infected, and the bone became diseased, according to an 1886 Daily News article. This guy has got all kinds of things going on.
Yeah, he's not in a good spot.
Diarrhea seems to be the least of his problems.
That's probably his happy time during the day.
Dr. Leach took Edwin to a dental surgeon who extracted another tooth. And his health seemed to improve for a short period, but it was said that he was still depressed, deluded, and hysterical, according to the British Medical Journal. Adelaide called in another doctor because she wanted a second opinion, reportedly saying, if Mr. Bartlett does not get better soon, his friends and relations will accuse me of poisoning him.
Interesting statement.
Well, it is, given the fact that we know the episode's called the Pimlico Poisoning. Yeah, it's very interesting. The doctor found that Edwin had inflamed gums, but was otherwise fine. According to the Daily News, Dr. Leach consulted a dentist about what could cause the gum issues, and the dentist suspected it could be mercury poisoning.
Well, he was taking mercury.
Yeah. So back to your point, Edwin's father came to visit him 3 weeks before he died because he heard Edwin was sick. When he tried to visit again the next day, Adelaide refused to let him see Edwin. He was furious and left. She sent a note to her father-in-law that stated, "You are welcome here when I invite you, and at no other time. I have neither forgotten nor forgiven the past. Edwin will be pleased to see you on Monday after 6.
Guess she's showing her authority.
Yeah. Respect my authority. I think one thing this does show you is that you do need to be a little careful when these new relationships are kind of forming, right? She's coming into the picture. It does sound like he gave her a really hard time. Well, things have changed now.
Right.
And she has the power and she's giving it back to him.
She's probably still upset because he did make some accusatory comments about her sleeping with his other son.
Yeah.
Not going to sit well.
When he visited Edwin on Monday, December 28th, Edwin said he was feeling better, but that he had snakes crawling up inside him, according to the New York Times. So I don't know what he was feeling like before. It must have been really bad.
Yeah, snakes crawl up inside you.
Edwin also mentioned that the doctor thought he had mercury poisoning, but he didn't know how that was possible. Edwin also brought up potential lead poisoning and said he could have been poisoned from opening the tea chests at work.
Well, those old tea chests back then, they were lined with lead, so could be a possibility.
Yeah, I think what it goes to show you is that they really had very little knowledge in the way of, what was really bad for you. And
right.
During his final weeks, Edwin started to demand sex from Adelaide. She tried to tell him that they should not have sex because she was essentially engaged to George Dyson. Edwin seemed to accept this, but he continued trying to be intimate with Adelaide. On December 27th, 1885, Adelaide asked George Dyson to buy chloroform for her. The British Medical Journal reported about chloroform, a heavy, colorless fluid with a sweet, sickly smell. Its vapor has been used as an anesthetic because it is easily administered, it's not flammable, and acts quickly. It is dangerous, however, and a small dose can sometimes cause sudden death by stopping the heart. George wanted to know why she hadn't asked the doctor for it. Adelaide told him that the doctor was ignorant of Edwin's problems, and based on previous experience, she knew that chloroform could ease his pain. Dyson purchased the chloroform from different stores. He combined it into a 4-ounce bottle, which he gave to Adelaide on December 29th. So we can kind of see where this is going, right? We just quoted the British Medical Journal by saying, it was you, and you said it was used a lot, but you got to be pretty good with the dose, I think.
Yeah.
Use too much could cause sudden death by stopping the heart. Now we have Adelaide asking George to get some. He's asking her, hey, why didn't you get it from the doctor? So that's a little suspicious.
It is.
And then the fact that he goes to like a bunch of different stores and gets it and then combines it into one bottle.
Maybe you were limited on the amount of purchase.
Maybe. Or maybe he thought it would draw too much suspicion.
True.
If he bought it all from one store. I don't know. Adelaide planned to put some on a handkerchief and hold it up to Edwin's face to subdue him when he tried to have sex with her. She later said she felt guilty and confessed to Edwin on December 31st, 1885. She said he seemed grieved but not cross, according to the New York Times.
Love it. Grieved but not cross.
Yeah. Nobody talks like this anymore. And it would be kind of cool if we went back to it for a little while.
For a day?
Yeah, not for very long. On December 31st, Edwin received another dental treatment. When he and Adelaide got home, she told Mrs. Doggett, the wife of the homeowner, that she gave Edwin chloroform, sleeping drops, regularly. Around 4 a.m. on January 1st, Adelaide sent the maid for Dr. Leach. She woke up the Doggetts, telling Mr. Doggett, "Come down. I think Mr. Bartlett is dead." Adelaide said that she was up until after midnight with Edwin. She fell asleep holding his foot. She woke up with a cramp, but then fell asleep for 4 more hours and woke up to find Edwin stone dead, turned on his face. She tried to pour brandy down his throat to revive him, but his body was cold.
Brandy to revive somebody. That's a new one.
Yeah, I don't think they knew like what CPR was or mouth to mouth. I don't know when all that came into vogue. I'm sure that was not the 1800s. I don't know what the brandy did or was supposed to do. But obviously, if he's dead and his body is cold, the brandy's not going to do anything. Nothing was going to do anything at this point. It was estimated that he had died hours earlier. Mr. Doggett noticed a nearly full wine glass on the mantel within reach of Edwin's bed. He thought the glass contained brandy and a drug that smelled like ether. He later testified at trial that he saw a tumbler filled with Condy's fluid on a tray near the table. According to the British Medical Journal, Condy's fluid is a solution of 1% compound of manganic and permanganate acids and 4% sodium chloride. It was used to remove odors and was poured on feces as a disinfectant and deodorant.
Okay. Wow. Probably some powerful stuff.
And I would think not something you would want to drink if it's used to cover up the odor of feces. Later that morning, a maid brought the tray down, and Mr. Doggett noticed an unlabeled bottle inverted in the tumbler. He gave the bottle to the coroner's office. Additionally, a bottle of chlorodyne, a combination of chlorine and morphine, was found on the mantel. Adelaide told the doctor that Edwin had rubbed this on his gum. No one saw a bottle of liquid chloroform in the house. Dr. Leach, who had arrived at the house, asked Adelaide if it was possible that Edwin ingested poison. She told him this was impossible, which to me is kind of a strange statement because there seemed like there was poison everywhere.
Yeah, between the mercury and the
different types of acid used to cover up feces.
Then you got not poison, but you had that chlorine
morphine
mix
combo. Edwin's father received word that his son had died. He rushed to get to the house. He reported that he kissed Edwin and then smelled his mouth for prussic acid, which is another name for hydrogen cyanide. So, I think this is a clear implication that right from the start, he was suspicious of Adelaide. Mr. Doggett refused to register the death until a postmortem exam was completed. This took place on January 2nd. The examiner found a strong smell of chloroform in the stomach, according to the New York Times, and 5 doctors could not establish a natural cause of death.
That's alarming.
I think it tells you something.
But when you do your autopsy and you open up the stomach and you smell chloroform, clearly a problem.
But let's remember, Adelaide made a specific comment to Mrs. Doggett, right? That she had been giving Edwin drops of chloroform. Now, was that what the examiner was smelling, or was that kind of a way to get ahead of this thing so that if somebody did find the chloroform, you would have an explanation? The inquiry into Edwin's death opened on January 7th, 1886. It was determined that he died from an excessive dose of chloroform. However, Edwin had no chemical burns on his mouth or throat from ingesting the chloroform. The British Medical Journal noted that these burns could have been harder to notice because of his dental problems.
That's a very good point.
Dr. Leach informed Adelaide of the cause of death, and she admitted to having chloroform. She explained that she intended to use it to drug Edwin when he insisted on having sex with her. However, she never used it and told Edwin about it on New Year's Eve. She claimed she showed him the bottle and put it on the mantle near his bed, then fell asleep. So I think when you look at that statement, it's pretty convenient as well, right? Again, you have to explain everything. You can't lie and say you don't have chloroform. So you say, yeah, I had it. I was going to do this with it, which doesn't seem legal to me to begin with.
Right.
But then you transition to, I didn't do it, but I told Edwin about it and I left it on the mantle near him.
Maybe she's telling the truth.
Well, maybe.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the examination of the scene. It was clearly said that there was no bottle of chloroform. So that's got to factor in somehow.
Right. Where did it go?
Yeah, because if you're trying to set it up that he could have mistaken that for one of his other medicines and he took it and he died, well, then that would mean you'd find the bottle right there by him. George Dyson appeared at the inquest to tell his story. He said that, as mentioned previously, Adelaide asked him to buy chloroform on December 27th. She claimed she had used it in the past to help Edwin sleep. So George went to 4 different stores to get it, telling the clerks he was going to use it as a stain remover. He purchased 4 ounces in total. He combined it into 1 bottle and gave it to Adelaide on December 29th. On January 2nd, he asked Adelaide what she did with it. She told him that she didn't use it and the bottle was full and uncorked. Then she told him, as quoted by the New York Times, "This is a very critical time for me, and you mustn't worry me with questions. Put away from your mind the fact that you ever gave me the chloroform."
Okay. Now that changes the way you might think about her.
Well, I think if you're George and you hear that, what are you taking away from it? That you don't want anyone to know
you ever had it.
Yeah. That I got it for you, that you had it. On January 4th, Dyson learned that the authorities were suspicious of Adelaide. He asked her again what she did with the chloroform. She reportedly stomped her foot and said, "Oh, damn the chloroform." Potty mouth.
Potty mouth, yeah.
I guarantee you she didn't learn that at finishing school. But you can see she was upset by this repeated questioning about the chloroform. Why? If there was nothing suspicious about it, why get so upset?
Right. Just tell your story again and be done with it.
Dyson had thrown away the 4 smaller bottles while he walked to give a sermon, and Adelaide said she threw the large bottle out of a railway carriage. According to Dyson, Adelaide told him, "If you don't incriminate me, I won't incriminate you."
The old, if you don't, I don't game.
Well, I think up to this point, there's suspicion, probably on the part of George Dyson. I think when you hear something like that, it confirms any suspicion that you've had up to that point. And it's also a little threatening, right? Oh. You better not incriminate me or I'll turn it back around on you. Now, she didn't say it that way, but
comes across.
That's essentially what she's saying.
Yeah, you take me down, bastard. I'm going to take you down with me.
Yeah. On February 12th, 1886, Adelaide was charged with the murder of Edwin Bartlett. George Dyson was later arrested and charged with accessory before the fact. We don't hear that a lot. We hear accessory after the fact.
It's true.
Accessory before the fact. The trial started on April 12th, 1886. Both Adelaide and George pleaded not guilty. Dyson's attorney asked that the two be tried separately, and the judge agreed, which makes a lot of sense to me. I think if you're George, you definitely want to be tried separately. There's a big difference between murder and accessory before the fact.
Yes.
And I don't think you want the jury to lump you in with their feelings towards Adelaide if they're convinced that she's a murderer.
Yeah, could go very bad for you.
After the jury was sworn in, the attorney general said he had no evidence against Dyson. The judge told the jury they had to find Dyson not guilty, and he was released. So that happened pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I'm always kind of fascinated by the arrest, not so much the arrest, but the actual charge. You charge someone and then very quickly, you say, well, we don't really have any evidence. Well, then why'd you charge him?
Exactly. Wonder how that went. He walked in the court with his attorney, and the attorney's like, all right, George, this is what's going to happen. They're going to say they don't have evidence. The judge is going to say, well, we can't do anything with them. You got to let them go. So you'll be out 20 minutes from now. No big deal. I don't know. It's like, why even go through all that? Why not just say, we don't have a case, so we're not going to move forward with any type of trial?
Yeah, I always think that too. Because you think about something like that happening today, and it does.
Sure.
They charge people with very little evidence. But let's say you're the one charged and you've got to hire an attorney. It's going to cost you all kinds of money.
Yeah.
And even if they drop the charges early on, you could still face a ton of financial hardship, lose your house, lose your family. A lot of bad things could happen to you. Over what? The fact that somebody got a little ahead of themselves and wanted to rush forward with a charge and a trial and all that. Adelaide's trial was so anticipated among the public that special tickets had to be issued for entrance to the courtroom, and seats were added to the lobby for viewing.
It's like going to a show.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, think of some of the big trials that people have tried to get into over the years. The OJ trial was huge. A lot of people tried to get into that. Yeah. I'm trying to think of other ones, just high profile trials.
Yeah. Menendez.
I think this was a high profile trial of the day.
Well, back then, I think even more so because you didn't have TV, right? This was entertainment for some people.
Well, there was also a real lack of entertainment.
Well, exactly.
You mentioned no TV. There was no radio.
Yeah.
There was, there were no movies. There was, what could you do? You could go to a show. They did have whatever type of shows they had back then, whether it was plays or, an opera or something like that. You also didn't have, reality television, the gossip magazines and things like that. So this would have been huge. This would have been something that you wanted to see so you could talk to your friends about it. It's like watching the Super Bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Because you don't want to miss the Super Bowl in case something happens. Janet Jackson's body part flies out and then you've missed it. You can't talk about it at the water cooler the next day.
That's right.
The prosecution presented 3 theories on how Edwin was poisoned: suicide, which was considered highly improbable; accident, which was considered practically impossible; and deliberate administration by another person. It was a fact that Edwin took a lot of medication to treat his ailments, and we listed them. He had quite a few.
You did.
Including explosive diarrhea. I don't know what he took for that. So it was possible that he woke up in the middle of the night to take medicine and accidentally ingested the chloroform because of his severe dental problems. He may not have been able to feel the burning of the liquid chloroform, and by the time he did realize it, it would have been too late. Doctors at trial said that Edwin would have been screaming in pain if he had ingested the chloroform, and there were no reports of screaming that night. However, the prosecution's main argument was that Adelaide got Edwin into a semi-conscious state by getting him to inhale drops of chloroform on a handkerchief. She then poured the rest down his throat and poured brandy in his mouth to cover up the smell. Or she offered Edwin brandy mixed with chloroform, and the taste of the alcohol disguised the taste of the chloroform. Edwin's inflamed mouth could have delayed the burning sensation caused by the poison. I know we keep going back to his dental problems, but they're kind of central to the case in a lot of ways, in that without the dental problem, it seems as though he would have known right away
what the cause was.
That he was drinking this chloroform.
Yeah.
But his mouth was so bad. He was in so much pain. It seems as though they're putting forth the theory that he might not have felt it right away. And by the time he did feel it or know it, it was too late.
He was too far gone.
But I mentioned, the three theories, pretty easy to figure out which one the prosecution was putting forward. Not suicide, not accident, but deliberate administration by another person. They said that Adelaide had a motive to kill Edwin because she wanted to marry George Dyson, whom she asked to buy the chloroform. The defense countered by arguing that Adelaide purchased the chloroform to subdue Edwin, who tried to claim his marital rights. However, she never used it, and she confessed to Edwin because she felt guilty.
So they're saying, hey, she didn't do anything wrong. She didn't want to give in to his sexual desires. So she had this to protect herself, but she chose not to use it. And she chose to tell him, hey, I bought this to use on you, but I'm not going to. We're all good.
Yeah, I kind of chuckle at that part of it just because I don't know. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I get it. Okay, you buy the chloroform because you're going to knock him out before he can, quote unquote, claim his marital rights, as they kept putting it.
Yeah.
But then you're not going to use it, but you're going to tell him that you had it and we're going to use it. I don't know. Seems strange to me.
I wonder if next time you want to be with your spouse, if you go into the bedroom and say,
I'm here to claim my
my marital rights.
You know what my wife would say?
Get out of the bedroom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can just turn around and get out of here with that BS.
Yeah.
George Dyson testified against Adelaide at trial. Under cross-examination, he testified that Edwin thought he was terminally ill, which supported the possibility that he chose to end his life. Dyson also admitted that Adelaide did not ask him to hide the fact that he purchased the chloroform and that he had thrown away the original bottles. Dr. Leach testified that Adelaide cared for Edwin throughout his illness. He also testified that Edwin was hysterical and unbalanced, which again seemed to support the suicide theory.
When you have a mouthful of pain, intense pain, I don't know how you're not like that. I mean, I've had severe dental pain before with assistance with pain meds, but still, it was not easy.
Cuts through it.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm just trying to think, if your whole mouth is like that, man, it has to be rough. Every day he went through this.
Well, anybody who's had like an exposed nerve knows what kind of pain that is. Now think about this guy who essentially has all of his teeth filed down to his gums.
Yeah. It's a lot of nerve exposure.
It seems like the whole thing is exposed. Yeah. I don't know. I'm still very leery about this dentist with the sawing of the teeth. And again, I don't know what it took to become a dentist in 1883.
Right.
Could you have just hung out a shingle that said dentist?
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Dr. Leach testified that if Adelaide had poured the chloroform down Edwin's throat, he almost certainly would have vomited because he ate a large meal before. Dr. Thomas Stevenson, a professor at a hospital and the scientific analyst to the Home Office, testified that he knew of no murder cases involving liquid chloroform. He also said that if someone poured chloroform down the throat of an unconscious person, there would be a risk of it going into the windpipe, but no chloroform was found in Edwin's windpipe. And this is kind of interesting testimony from these doctors because the testimony is really kind of pointing away from the prosecution's theory that she poured this chloroform down his throat.
Right. I mean, to say that he knew of no murder case involving using chloroform. Okay, that doesn't really mean there was never anything out there.
Well, and even the other doctor said he almost certainly would have vomited. Okay. Well, maybe he would have, maybe he wouldn't have. Some people do, some people don't.
And of course, there was a risk that it could go down their windpipe as well. Doesn't mean that it would. It could. So, I mean, really none of it is drawing a hard line.
But 8 to 9 drops of chloroform were found in Edwin's stomach. However, examiners had to take into account the fact that the poison dispersed in his body, meaning the lethal dose was larger than this. Traces of chloroform were found in Edwin's intestinal tract. So I don't know. There's a lot of contradicting information, things going back and forth.
Yeah.
In his closing argument, Adelaide's attorney listed the evidence that supported the suicide theory and Adelaide's lack of motive. In his summing up, the judge also noted that contraceptives were found in Edwin's clothing, which suggested that he and Adelaide had sex regularly, which discredited the argument that Adelaide bought the chloroform to prevent Edwin's sexual advances. Adelaide Bartlett was found not guilty of murder on April 17, 1886. The jury foreman was quoted as saying, "Although we think grave suspicion is attached to the prisoner, we do not think there is sufficient evidence to show how or by whom the chloroform was administered." And I want to talk about this statement because, I kind of talked earlier about how there are facets of this case that you see in cases today. How many cases have we done where people have been convicted and then it later turns out that they didn't do it? And when you look at it, they were convicted on very circumstantial evidence in many cases. And there seemed to have been a lot of reasonable doubt.
Of course.
But the jury still found them guilty. There's a lot of things here that don't make Adelaide look good.
No.
But where's that kind of smoking gun that proves she poured this down his throat versus him ingesting it himself?
Well, they don't have that smoking gun.
And I think it's interesting in 1886 that, a jury was really looking at that and saying, you just haven't proven to us that she did this. Although they did say we have grave suspicion, which how could you not?
Yeah, I think anybody would.
There's a lot of things pointing, to her or that don't make her look real great. But many members of the public, thought Adelaide was guilty. A surgeon named Sir James Paget said after trial, according to the website Historic Mysteries, now that she's been acquitted for murder and can't be tried again, she should tell us in the interest of science how she did it.
Interesting.
It's interesting, but who wants to do that?
Yeah.
Hey, I know I got away with it, so I'm just going to tell you now that I did it, and here's how I did it.
Everybody gather around. Let me tell you the little secret.
And then what? You're going to have to walk around the rest of your life with people knowing that you got away with murder? Right. She probably lived under a cloud of suspicion the rest of her life anyway.
Well, I'm sure people always whispered after that.
Yeah, but to, really cement it, no need. Adelaide's attorney believed Edwin took his own life. Before he died, one of the doctors he saw used the word necrosis to describe this condition. Edwin might have thought this meant he had gangrene. The defense attorney suggested that Edwin poured the chloroform into the wine glass while Adelaide was out of the room. And Adelaide later poured brandy into this same glass when she tried to revive Edwin. However, many people questioned why Edwin wouldn't just drink straight out of the bottle. And we talked about it earlier, right? There were no chemical burns to show Edwin drank the chloroform. Dr. Leach later wrote in a medical journal that he thought Edwin took the chloroform to make himself sick, to intentionally cause distress for Adelaide after she confessed that she planned to drug him to avoid his sexual advances. So here's kind of another take on it. He didn't mean to end his life.
He did it to make her feel bad.
But he ended up dying. Lauren Dillon from Historic Mysteries proposed that Edwin was possibly poisoned over time.
To me, that makes sense.
It does. It does. And even the symptoms of chloroform toxicity match the symptoms Edwin was experiencing before he died, such as diarrhea, stomach pains, drowsiness, and weakness. Although I think a lot of things cause that. I mean, if you watch any commercial about any medicine today, I'm pretty sure those 4 things are listed as possible side effects.
It's like you can take this med and your left eye won't itch anymore for 2 hours in the morning, but it could cause you diarrhea, stomach upset, anal bleeding.
Yeah, there's just a laundry list of very strange things that could happen.
And you're like, you know what? I'm okay with my eye itching for 2 hours in the morning now.
Yep. According to the British Medical Journal, Adelaide didn't marry George Dyson. She returned to France, where she died. Historians think that Dyson immigrated to the U.S. and changed his name, although theories about his final years differ. One account claims that he married a young woman to access her estate, and another claims that he became an editor and wrote books. A little harder to track people.
Sure.
Back in the day. The Pimlico Poisoning mystery has fascinated people around the world for more than 100 years. And there's still a lot of debate on whether Adelaide Bartlett was wrongfully accused or if she got away with murder. And I think it's what makes it a fascinating case.
It really does. You can see how it could be any of those, right? It could have been her, could have been him, could have been she did it this way, that way.
Well, and I think you see that in a number of unsolved cases where, let's say there's 3, 4, 5 different leading theories.
Yeah.
And you can make the case for each one of them. Now, they can't all be correct, but you can argue that each one of them were possible.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of things that are possible here as well.
You can move this up 100 years and still have some issues with it.
It would be very similar.
Yeah.
You know, it might not be chloroform. It might be, something else or, whatever, but people poisoning their spouses is not new.
And will still continue.
And it continues to this day. What kind of threw me off, I guess, was this weird kind of quasi love triangle, because it seemed like it was going to be at the heart of the case.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it really was. I don't think it was.
I think it was more of a distraction to what was really going on.
Well, maybe, this guy wanting another man to kiss his wife in front of him, and the fact that, he had this kind of garbage mouth and all these dental problems, that part alone, you can see where the pain could have caused him to do something rash, to take something that he thought was going to ease the pain, but he grabbed the wrong bottle.
Yeah. Or
that what was going on with his mouth helped disguise what she had actually done. I don't know. I don't know what the real answer is. That's what makes it a mystery, and everybody's kind of has to, mull it over and go through the different scenarios in their mind. But interesting, nonetheless.
Sure is.
And you have the fact that they don't end up marrying anyway. So if she really did kill Edwin, which a lot of people believe that she did, then to me, she just used George to get the chloroform.
And if you're George, would you want to marry somebody?
That's a great point. It might not have even been her choice.
Yeah.
Because I think he kind of realized at some point that she was hanging him out to dry.
Yeah.
And so that, plus the thought that she killed her husband, might have made him run to the U.S., immigrate to the U.S.
He might be like, hey, she might try to do that to me someday.
Yeah.
I'll just find somebody new.
Yeah, no doubt about it. It's like the person who cheats with someone ends up marrying that person and then is surprised a few years later when that person cheats on them.
Yeah. It's just Is that called Karma?
Yeah, it's called something.
Something.
But that's it for our episode on the Pimlico poisoning. We got some voicemails. You want to check those out?
Let's hear them.
Hey guys, it's Ken from Arizona. I love the podcast. I've been listening about a year and started from the beginning with both TCAT and Unsolved. I just finished episode 175 today, so I got a ways to go before I'm all caught up. We were having dinner tonight and my son was talking about monsters and he called it a werewolf. And I just busted out laughing and instantly thought of Gibby. I just want to share that with you guys. Keep up the great work and keep your own time ticking.
So that one actually made me laugh, both when I first heard it and then just now. You haven't said it in a while.
What's that?
Woof.
What's wrong with that?
But when you do say it, it cracks me up.
That's what it is.
It's a werewolf.
It's a werewolf.
You don't normally say werewolf. You just say wolf.
Yeah, it's a wolf.
Wolf.
Wolf. What does a dog say? Woof, woof.
Right, but we're not talking about a dog. We're talking about how you pronounce the word wolf.
Yeah, wolf.
Okay.
There's some wolves outside.
What? You just said woofs. Like there's no L or V in the plural.
Can we talk about this later?
Woofs. Look at all these woofs around our door.
Hi, this is Mary Sandylands from Minnesota. I was just calling to say huge fan. I'm out here kayaking and binge listening as I do. And I thought I would call and say how weird it was that you did one for Lino Lakes, or Lino Lakes as you may like to say, and then you did one for Leighton Buzzard in the United Kingdom by Milton Keynes, which is two places I live. So it was just very weird, and they were back to back. But love your show, and can't wait to hear more.
She said she's from Minnesota. There's a lot of wolves up there.
Yeah, I bet you there are.
There are.
You got to be careful.
Be really careful.
Well, we appreciate the voicemails. All right, buddy, you ready to get out?
I'm ready.
That is it for another episode of True Crime All the Time Unsolved. So for Mike
and Gibby,
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.
See what hit blockbusters are streaming free this month during Popcorn Summer Movies on Pluto TV. Watch Django Unchained or Transformers Dark of the Moon for an action-packed evening. Or The Truman Show and School of Rock for a good laugh with the whole family. Plus, Pluto TV has thousands of other free movies available on live and on demand. Download Pluto TV on all your favorite devices for free and start streaming now.